You know, it always amazes me that a TV show can come out and be completely better than anything past Terminator 2. Like I say, story and character, story and character. Let's talk season 1 of Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Come with me if you want to live.
Covenant, calling Raven.
Payback time.
Come with me if you want to live.
You just don't turn it off!
Set after the events of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Sarah Connor and her son John try to stay under the radar from the government as they plot to destroy the computer network Skynet in hopes of preventing Armageddon. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema, where we talk movies of the past that you know and love. And today we're doing a review of Season 1 of Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. This was recommended to me by my good friend Caleb from the Dark Ether Files podcast. Him and I are huge Terminator fans. It's hard to get together with him and not talk about Terminator. So he said, you got to watch this, Jason, because it has some pretty interesting ideas in it. And boy, was he right. This has some interesting ideas in it. Is it a retread of T2? Very much so. It very much isn't a retread. They're trying to, John and Sarah are being hunted again, trying to stop Skynet. But they add these little interesting ideas that if they had the budget, they had a bit if it was a big budget movie, could have been very interesting and could have continued this franchise on a trajectory that would have benefited this franchise as far as I'm concerned. So the Sarah Connor Chronicles was released in 2008, created by Josh Friedman and starring Lena Headey, Thomas Dekker, Summer Glau, and Richard T. Jones. Now, first thing you got to keep in mind when watching this is a TV budget. This is a TV show. They didn't have the money for these big action spectacles. That it's too bad because they could have done some really huge action set pieces in this. So they went for more of the character and stories, which is what you want. I would rather watch this again than anything past T2. Anything past T2. As much as I love Terminator Salvation, I really like what John Connor is in this. I like how they handle Sarah Connor. I like the relationship. And again, it's a very, it's a relationship that has tension throughout the season. It's a relationship that has a lot of love. This is a mother and son. This is a mother who has seen what the world's going to become, has to train her son, and she'll do anything she can to protect him, to make sure he becomes this leader, and this huge burden on John, which this actor, Thomas Dekker, he really shows well. He shows well. You start seeing the promise of him, how smart he is. You start seeing Sarah taking the leash away more, which is really hard for her. But if he's going to be this leader, then you got to let him off the leash every now and then, see what he's made of. You know what I mean? You start at the beginning of the season, you start seeing John going, you got to do this, Mom. You got to protect me, Mom. You got to make sure that Skynet doesn't happen, because he just does not want this burden. He hasn't really fully accepted that. And I'm hoping by the end of the second season, he starts accepting his real destiny. And you start seeing it slowly and slowly where he's getting more involved. He's getting more involved and things like that and everything like that. And yeah, the relationships is explored really well. And I do like the last episode on his birthday. He thinks his mom's forgotten his birthday. And at the end of it, he's doing all this computer work, and he goes, it's just my birthday. She goes, you really thought I forgot your birthday? And he starts in his great piece of writing here where he's like, our life is destroying Skynet. Our life is me becoming the leader of the resistance. That's our life. And I love when Sarah has come a long way since T2. You know what I mean? When she was where she was turning into a machine, she's come a long way in saying, that's the mission, John. You and I, this is our life. That's the mission. So she's separated from what the mission is to what their life is, where the love is, and all that. And this show just does a really good job on that. And once again, we got a Terminator sent back that John sends back to his younger self. This time we got a female Terminator, and this is how you do a female Terminator properly. She's a different kind of Terminator. She can show a little bit more emotion than like the T-800. You see her start to learn things here and there. She's there to protect John, but she's also ambiguous too, because sometimes you're really like, she could turn on them in a second. It just feels like that anyway. I like the relationship with Sarah and John, between John and this new T-850. I think she is. I'm not too sure about that. And meanwhile, trying to stay away from the government, we got there's Terminators after them. There is an FBI agent after them. You know what I mean? And let's talk about some of these interesting ideas. One of the great interesting ideas they do is they actually go into the future. So it's 2008. The show's in 2008. I believe the year is like 1997 or 1998 or something like that. So like John's like 16 now, 15, 16 years old. And they go into 2008. So they project into the future, right? That's an interesting idea. I know they did that in Genesis, but it didn't fucking mean anything in that movie. That's just a piece of fan fiction, that movie. But originally, they did it here, and they do a really good job of it. You know what I mean? And John Connor in the future sends resistance fighters back, not just one, like 4 or 5. One of them being Derek Reese, which is his uncle, Kyle's older brother. Great little idea here. Another great character to see John interact with. Starting to show that this is about a family. That's just not John and Sarah. Kyle and Derek and John and Sarah, and who knows? Like, I haven't seen the second season yet, so I don't know where this is really going yet. And you get more than one Terminator, but there is a main Terminator, which is another interesting idea. Is you actually get this idea of a Terminator rebuilding himself, Frankensteining himself. If they would have done, if T3 would have been this, if T3 would have been them going to the future, they wipe out a Terminator, but it starts rebuilding itself. I thought that was fascinating. I loved watching it. Because the head is still alive, the microchip is still alive. He finds a way to putting his skin on, then getting surgery to look like this FBI agent. And what a great logical choice, making him into an FBI agent. So he would have little humor. He could be stiff, and he could be like, show little or no emotion, and no one would think any of it because it's a serious job. That's an infiltration unit. You know what I mean? Another great idea I really liked is Skynet in its infancy, called the Turk. So they're after this little machine that is going to become Skynet eventually, created by this one guy. And we get to see him in the future through flashbacks. See who his name's Andy. She starts befriending him and dating him to get close, and she ends up liking him. But it's called the Turk, and he teaches it how to play chess and everything. Great thing too, we get to see John Connor as a little boy learning chess, Sarah doing everything she can to train him for war. At that level, using a chessboard and everything, I think it was great. But seeing this machine in its infancy, great idea. Getting up from the source, destroying Skynet from its source. Some really cool ideas in here. And I talk about Derek Reese, played by Brian Austin Green. This is the closest version we have gotten to Michael Biehn. And, when I think of Brian Austin Green, I think of 90210. It's David, and I go, really? But he plays this character really well. He's intense. He's got an edge to him. You really feel like I feel that's Kyle's brother. That's a resistance fighter. He doesn't fuck around when he comes back. He's, his mission is his mission, and he will do whatever he has to. And at first, John and him are really at odds and stuff like that, but once he finds out that's his uncle, he'll do anything to save him. And you get a really nice moment right at the end, the final episode, episode 9. There's 9 episodes in this season. He's known the whole time that John Connor is Kyle's son. He says once he started interacting with him, you could see it. I could just see it in you. I see Kyle in you. And he takes him to this park. Their younger selves, Derek and Kyle, are playing baseball together. And then John clues in, and he goes, that's my father?
I'm the younger one. Is that
Kyle? That was pretty good for a 5-year-old, huh?
Finally, someone who gets it. About the family, the emotion. He finally gets to meet his father, even though his father's 4 years old. They lock eyes, you know what I mean? And Thomas Dekker plays this scene So great, so emotional, just very, 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 very good. And we get to see, you know, the flashbacks of Derek Reese in the future and Kyle. You get to see a bit of Kyle, you get to see a bit of Derek, and just, you know, what he'll do to protect his brother, what he'll do for his mission, his intents. He doesn't fuck around. Like when he's there's a hostage situation and shit like this annoys me. When, you know, I'll put the gun down, not fucking Derek, man. He blows a hole right in this guy's head and he's got John like this. He could have seriously injured John. I love it. You know, he's a soldier. He's not going to miss. Just his instinct, everything. And you see him and Sarah kind of button heads too. Like we find out that this guy who invented the Turk, Derek ends up killing him so he wouldn't invent anything, kind of thing. That's his mission. But he lies to Sarah about it. And I love Lena Headey in this, where she's this like, if you ever lie to me again, I'll kill you. And you just believe it, man. And you just believe it. As much as I like the show and everything, it would have been nice to see this story, this plot line play out with Edward Furlong and Linda Hamilton. God, that was T3 for you. That was T3 for you. I mean, God, man, what we got, dog shit. But where the movie really suffers, you know, what keeps it really, it's his budget. A little bit of comedy that I didn't need, especially with the Terminators. Like when this Terminator's posing as a substitute teacher, and you know, he's got the red eye now. He's been shot and everything, and he's like, class dismiss. I just like, you didn't need that. No, you didn't need that. Even though the actor kind of played it all right. It's not overly satirical, but just some of the comedy, some of the effects, you know, a lot of the effects, obviously they don't have the budget. It's 2008, it's dated, but it doesn't take you out because you're invested in the story and the character. You get Dr. Silverman in this too. I think he's played really well. You get a cool episode with Dr. Silverman. You see what's happened to him because of what happened in T2 and where he's at, and he kind of like kidnaps this FBI agent. But this FBI agent, so far anyway, in the first season, I think is very weak. I don't like the way he's played. It's not overly a great character. I'm not really invested in what's going on with him and everything. So, I mean, I think he could have been handled better. I think the tone of the series, the tone of the first 9 episodes can be inconsistent at times, but not too bad. Our female Terminator, Summer Glau, she plays Cameron to protect John. I think she does a really good job of playing a Terminator. She can play up to the emotion in her programming and stuff like that. Like I said before, she's a bit ambiguous, so I don't know what's coming from her. Like at any given time, I feel like, well, she may have, you know, there's a paranoia. There's a paranoia, like they don't know that they should really completely trust her because she is a machine. You know what I mean? And she doesn't seem to be, at this point anyway, she doesn't seem to be learning like Uncle Bob was learning in T2. You know what I mean? So I don't know if they're going to flesh that out more. I think they will. I think that's where it's going. I do like the way they shot the future scenes. Like you get a future scene with Derek Reese and everything like that. And in the tunnels and stuff like that. It could have been grittier. It could have had a lot more gritty vibe and a lot more dirt and everything. They could have been, you know, a lot more dirty, the characters and everything, but they did not do a bad job of reenacting the future. I thought that was really done well. When you do get some action, it's pretty solid. It's not full-blown action like you get in the Terminator movies, but it's enough. It's enough to wet your whistle. It's enough to keep you engaged. And I really like the way they handled the score in this. It's not completely copying the Terminator score. There's soundscapes and vibes you hear through it that are very similar, but they kind of rework it into their own thing, which I think is fantastic. I really like that. And, you know, I like the fact that Sarah has dark hair. You can almost allude that that's how she's hiding from the government. She changed her hair color. But like I said, you don't have to look like Linda Hamilton. She's Sarah Connor. She's nailed this character. Completely nailed it, man. And it's great. I don't know why more people are not talking about this show. I honestly do not. Unless this show becomes a shit show in season 2, and this is forgotten about, but this is unremarkably underrated. Underrated. If you like story and character, You're going to like this. I think you're really going to like it. You're going to like the interesting ideas in it. You know, good stuff, man. As a Terminator fan, I'm just glad I have more to watch now because, you know, I've been trying to get around to watching this. Finally did. Can't wait for season 2. I'm going to give season 1 of the Sarah Connor Chronicles a solid B. But what about you? What do you guys think of the Sarah Connor Chronicles? Have you seen it or haven't you seen it? If you've seen it, let's talk about it. Go and watch it. Come back. We'll have a great discussion in the comments. I'll put related content on the end card. Thank you to my good buddy Caleb for recommending this. It'll be fun to talk to you about this, man. Maybe we'll have you on for season 2. The review season 2, I mean. That'd be a lot of fun. So, yeah. So, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for growing the channel. All that jazz. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema. I'll see you next time, and I will see you in the movies. Cheers.